start the show with a song. New you, you. That's a song that's being offered to connect with the real universes. If a person tests it for themselves for like 15 minutes before they go to sleep each night and 15 minutes when they wake up in the morning, see what life shows you. There are projects in development with the wonderful worldwide educators, www.wonderfulworldwideeducators.com, projects that you can become involved with, like the total universal rainforest, creating it, and becoming involved with the all-solar research projects in the Nations United Universal University and the homeschooling. Today I'll read some of one of the new books by Dwayne the Great Writer that are available at lulu.com. The Adventure Is series. This is new book 3, The Real Far Country. See if it makes sense to you, what's being read to you. We will stop here for a moment because I want us to go to the 11th level and meet with the strange overseer who handles that position of being-isness. For those in the human body, there will be 13 designated levels. Of course, there are so many more, but you do not want to write for centuries about all that exists. So 13 is a good number. The all is can be found within the 13th level. But for now, I want the two of you to have the experience of what is taking place with the 11th level. We will use the new you and then lift ourselves to this unknown place of all being-isness, said RT as he closed his eyes and we did the same. I felt this funny sensation and then found myself floating in the darkness of space. All of us were above the earth from hundreds of miles up. The little world looked so lonely all by itself as I viewed it. It is a lonely place, Dwayne. We are going to a fantastic universe where there is no false loneliness, because it is filled with real life. Follow me, said Rebazar, as he started to walk on the air. Paul and I watched for a moment, and then followed right behind him, and as we did, the scene around us started to change. We first entered a world of light. Do you recognize the astral world? He said to us. Then the scene immediately changed again. The causal, mental, and etheric realms, RT said as we swiftly moved through them. The deep, dark border was like a blink, and then suddenly we were in the 7th level. I could see endless distances of golden castles set in the most wondrous brilliance of radiant light. Then the scene quickly changed and we were in brilliant fluidness with no boundaries. As we entered these new worlds of isness, we went through the motions of non-movement and total perception. At some point, we were in the 11th level of being-isness. Then, I felt an impression from Rebazar. Simply wait to see what happens. It knows we are here, he said with a silent impression. There was actually no waiting, but a great sense of nowness, freedom. I had no body or silly mind, as I was free to just be here, now. When I am in the body, it is such a struggle to even try to imagine this place. I could not really see anything but light, but I could sense RT and Paul next to me. I could also sense that there were others around who had such a great awareness that they seemed so indifferent to me. Then an impression came from somewhere in the light. I put my attention on Rebazar and sensed his awareness, and I knew that the great overseer of this level was approaching. I was in a dream world of realness that had no explanation. I began to perceive, then something forming in the distance in front of me. Alas, I could see it. It took the form of a gigantic sun that you would see in the sky. But this reality had a great feeling of aliveness to it. Took the form of a gigantic sun that you would see in the sky, but this reality had a great feeling of aliveness to it. I had been here before, but this time was different. How could it be so? I cannot say. Then I received the impressions as it began communicating. I have brought them forward the best that I could. This is the new nowness of all that is. You have been brought here because the all is wanted it to be so. Your intensive training must continue, so that the two of you can present the reality of itself to the human worlds of time and space. Vast multitudes are trapped in the worlds of darkness that have had their wills subjected to the tortures of the emotional and mental nettings of the abusive unaware. It is your fate to take on the challenge, just like the real universal guides, and free the encumbrances from those that want to live their real dreams in the imagination of the true reality. The mind gods have stolen the imagination and real abilities from the masses and put everyone to work in a frozen state of affairs for eons. There will be no freedom for all those who have taken on these marketing ploys if the two of you do not present what the all is provides. And so you are now to be purified again and then return to your earth world, said the great overseer. The great overseer began to fade back into all the surrounding light until once again all that was seen was the solidness of dazzling light. I could feel RT lead us back down into the gloom of the psychic levels, and then finally back to earth. I was once again a little discouraged as I was back in my other body. So much more took place than the two of you can realize at this time, and it was all a great benefit to you. Now I will continue. Those ideals that were displayed by the saints and saviors of the past would have had to have been the presentation of the new sound wave, or there was no real meaning to what they were presenting. What has come from the original presentations has been so altered that today most people would not recognize any real understanding if they saw it, because they have been so rehearsed from the editors of doctrine up to this day. And it is that the church would not change what they have been informing people, because it would expose them to the fact that they never knew the real presentation and information. All written material is a form of truth, but never real truth. It can be good or even great information and knowledge, but only real truth is alive, the sound and light of the great reality. All life comes from the great reality, and not from any human source as proposed by the invented doctrines of the world. Each person should look to their own real awareness and get their own answers, so they will learn the truth about what has been proposed to them for centuries. Those that have been connected to the real sound and light of the All Is are truly the shining ones. They are the real universal guides. It must be understood that the knowledge of being-isness is not a slow product of evolution or an accumulation of learning that has been gathered during long ages of study, nor is it the sum of knowledge accumulated in libraries and to be memorized by neither students nor a record of acquired information. The knowledge of the true reality known by the real guides is unique. All those of the true reality, the new sound wave, gain the whole sum of metaphysics from a real perspective, and that is the real knowledge and experience that only they can perceive. Real knowledge that surpasses the book knowledge by any physical means is the true knowledge of all metaphysics and philosophies. The real guides do not need to gather information from many sources as do most people that are of the earth. They know that anything they need is within their reach through their own real experiences. Anyone can gain development of the recognition of their real awareness as it pertains to the knowledge they need to survive, provided it is the same scientific method that the real guides use. The most common concept of the great reality is that of a creator. Most people can only think of a creator as doing something. So they picture their gods as creating and managing the places they live and all they can see far out into the vast space above the earth where their gods live. People are obliged by the urge of their minds to account for the things as they find them, or at least to try. And the natural conclusion is that some power created them. It has always been a wonder if man created God or if his God created him. The historical events that have taken place through time prove that man created his God or gods, but then again, it has been the idea of men that God created them. Compared to reality, both history and logic are unreliable. The gods that have been created were from the imagination of those that have put forth the imagery of what a god should be. The religions of the world have represented their gods to be like man in character. If you are to study the real side of history and the true facts of events, you would see that there have always been those who have been busy constructing these gods within the human side. The worldly scriptures, which have been written for the sake of coercion, for the most part, imply that God created man in his own image, and then man seems to flatter himself that his God is not greatly superior to him. The world is full of gods who claim to be related to man in image and likeness. There are many gods, and too much battling because of them. The real question is what each person means by the word God. Everyone has their own definition, which seems to suit them, and this can be fine because each person has the right to decide for themselves what life is to them. Of course, all ideas from humans have nothing to do with the true reality it is. Through a little bit of research, you will find that the priests of the church do not know the subject they are delivering to their followers when it comes to the highest of all realities. The religions of the world have used their saviors and saints as their gods. They have given them the characteristic will of divine qualities that are equal to their original God. For the most part, the average person cannot think of anything being above himself, so through the course of time, People have invented their own God according to what they want him to be. Most people want a God that is always on demand, so that whatever they decide in their lives, all they have to do is petition their invented God and he should answer. And if not, that's okay too. The idea of praying to a God in the sky somewhere is simply a projection of an idea into the mental and subconscious body and having it return to the sender. This is the basic idea of what all followers of some sort of system do with those that are higher in knowledge than themselves. The real guides, who have been known to mankind at times, will have certain qualifications that others do not have. They have longevity, omnipresence, and the ability to be in any world or level of the unseen worlds, and have the great protection of the all is, which most cannot comprehend. All of this goes along with the great wisdom, attainment, and freedom they have. No one has ever gained real wisdom, purity, and real freedom by the process of what the produced scriptures have displayed. These material tools can be a sort of essential to the fundamental beginning and understanding of real experience, but they can never be a substitute for anything real, according to what the institutions of earth have demonstrated. The methods employed by most of the belief systems are some sort of ancient rewritten documentation that is mere fragments from the original presentation of the deliverer. The real guides may submit written information from time to time, but they always point to the real awareness of each individual and what is taking place within themselves. They teach a person how to get their wisdom through the real connection of sound and light, which is sight and hearing.